The Last of Us Episode 2 is here. It's a little slower, but it's still fantastic and super intense. The same as last week, I'm going to do my spoiler-free review of the episode for the first half of this video, and then the second half of this video, I will be doing my spoiler-filled discussion of everything that I liked about the episode. So if you haven't seen the episode, feel free to just watch the first half. I love the world building that they have put into the show. It's definitely a lot more detailed compared to the game, and they kind of just let you know things from the get-go. There's some great flashbacks here that explain the infection and just casual character conversations that are super interesting, that keep all of the dialogue really tight, and everything that is said is important. There's no wasted writing in this episode. The budget really got to flex just how big it was as well. They really got to show off the infection on the world and just the atmosphere of everything. The believable character chemistry between Joel, Ellie, and Tess is all fantastic. The actors are giving it their all. There are some character decisions that are made in this episode that are super realistic and really grounded, and I was like, yeah, that would happen. That would absolutely happen in real life. A lot of horror movies or shows, characters seem to not have any common sense and they just make stupid decisions, but I feel like every decision that was made in this episode, especially with the intense scenes and with character interactions, was all extremely genuine and realistic. The pacing in this episode was definitely more slower paced compared to the first episode. There are kind of two main reasons for that. One, a lot happened in the first episode. They had an hour and a half to cover a huge amount of story. Episode 2 covers a much smaller amount of the story. And reason number 2 is this segment of the game is slower as well. Slow doesn't necessarily mean bad. It definitely gave the characters more time to shine and develop. There is less action here than some people might come to expect from the game, but the threat that they run into is a lot more menacing and a lot more dangerous than in the game. Yes, in the game they're still terrifying and they're still extremely dangerous and they can kill you in one hit, but the show makes them even more intense, to the point where we have our first proper, legitimately scary scene. I wouldn't say that I found it scary because I knew it was coming because of the game, but for people who didn't know and don't know what these creatures look like, this could be terrifying, and it's extremely intense and very creepy, to the point where yes, it is scary and there are build up to jump scares. The sad tone continues. If you haven't learned already by the first episode, don't get attached to the characters in this story. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that, because this is spoiler-free. So I'll go more into that in my discussion. There's even more fantastic scene-for-scene reenactments. There's a couple that really stand out yet again. Exactly the same shot-for-shot and exact same dialogue, just delivered by these new versions of these characters. And it's just as fantastic and just as well delivered as the video game. We've got more immersive cinematography as well, which is fantastic. There was a scene in particular, the camera kind of comes up behind Joel as he is kind of going through a building, and it's literally like you're playing the game for a hot second there, which was really cool. I respect little Easter eggs like that. It's just really fun little things to look out for. Again, we've got more fantastic build-ups with incredible executions. This entire episode was also building up to something just like the first episode, and it has an absolute killer execution. I would say this episode probably had a more satisfying ending than the first episode. There is a perfect mix of practical effects and CGI. It looks like it's all practical effects when it comes to the threat, but a great mix of CGI when it comes to showing the world. And my final point, without spoiling anything, the ending of this episode was a much more dramatic, intense, and heroic ending to a certain segment of the game. I think they actually executed it much better in the show. This is another absolutely incredible episode. It adds more incredible world building and character development, and we get our first look at just how intense and scary the threat is. I, again, cannot wait for the next episode. Spoilers ahead. Final warning, if you haven't seen the episode, don't watch this part of the video. I love the flashback in this. Again, incredible. They didn't have any of this stuff in the game, and I'm loving it in the show. The acting from the female scientist is just incredible when she realizes that the infection has gotten out, and the dialogue is so intense, and just her delivery of saying that they should bomb the city because there is no cure for this infection. It was just heartbreaking. This isn't a complaint, but Joel has a machine gun from the get-go. In the game, you don't get the machine gun until like the last level. So yeah, okay. It's not that it's annoying, but it's just kind of, it feels like Joel's playing The Last of Us and he's got the cheats on from the get-go. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he might run out of ammunition. I just hope in the next episode, he gets the shotty from Bill, because that's literally one of my favorite weapons in the game. One of my favorite parts of the episode was the swap with the infection. Instead of spores, it's vines. So that makes it so creepy that the infected can communicate through the vines. Like, you can kill one and then the vines travel under the city, and it like lets the infected know where you are and they come and find you immediately. That is crazy. So yeah, terrifying stuff. Fantastic. I love the atmosphere with the buildings just being covered in these fungus vines. Like, super creepy. Real creepy. Like the scene, you just see the museum sitting there just covered in this infection. And I was just thinking to myself, okay, this is a horror house. Go the other way. But they have no other option. They have to go through into it. And I'm like, oh, I wonder where Dracula lives. No, but I was like, literally, it was just like a horror house just sitting there. That was cool. I like that build up. It's super scary, really intense. I was like, fantastic. Speaking of scary, I love the scene with the clickers. I love the build up. You hear them, give it another minute, you kind of hear them again. And then you see them, but they're in the background, they're fuzzed out, you don't quite get a good look, and then it creeps around real slowly, and then they flash the light on it real quick and it screams at them. That was amazing. Like, that's how you do it. I love the scene for scene reenactments. Again, just incredible. It's like the respect for the source material is just perfect. I love it. Obviously, the main one is Ellie realizing that Tess is infected, and then that piece of dialogue between Tess and Joel. And that's literally, that dialogue is ripped straight from the game. Like, that scene is just perfect from the game, and then they perfected it all over again with the show. And having Ellie get bit twice, that was a surprise. Having her get bit twice already, considering in the game she is bitten twice, but the first time is obviously before the first game even starts, and then the second time is kind of at the end of the second game. So, bit of a jump there. As we're in this, it made sense for her to get bitten twice so that they could show a bite on Ellie compared to a bite on Tess, immediately infecting Tess, and it not even affecting Ellie at all to show how immune she is. I thought that was a really smart idea. I would easily say, though, the best part of this episode is the way that Tess dies. It is executed so much better than the game. It's way more intense, it's way more heroic, and for such a badass character, she actually went out like an absolute boss, clearing out an entire group of infected, blowing them up. But oh my gosh, that kiss was nasty. That was disgusting. That infected stalker, like, kissing her with the infection going into her mouth. I was like, that is yuck. That is so gross. But yeah, having her like kind of succumb to it while she's holding on to her humanity, while she's clicking away at the lighter and dropping into the last second to clear them all out, like, that was perfectly executed. Just incredible. So well done, especially considering in the game, it's just some people that rock up and she kills one of them, and then like the the other four just shoot and kill her, and you don't even get to see it. Like, you can run back around and see her dead body, but you just hear it, you don't see it. This was way cooler in the show. Definitely what she deserved. That was my review and discussion for episode 2 of The Last of Us. It was just fantastic. Again, this top quality storytelling, budget, action, and performances just all continue to blow my mind, even though I have played the game multiple times. I know exactly what's happening, and yet I'm still so immersed in the story, in this world, and with these characters. I cannot wait for episode 3. If you have seen episode 2, comment down below. Was it better than episode 1? Was it worse? Was it on par? Are you excited for episode 3? Or is this show just not for you? Feel free to let me know, and I will see you in the next video.